Leaky, and we are chatting today about the gut, leaky gut in specific. We're going to do an introduction to it and 5 tips on how to help with gut health and how to help and repair leaky gut. So for 30 minutes, I'm going to give you some information on why you want to, a little bit of nutshell about what leaky gut is, and then a little bit more specifics on what it does, and then some ideas on how to avoid, how to heal. And so just the basic thing that I hope that you get from this is that leaky gut is not a fad. It's not a term that's just being thrown around. I mean, it is being thrown around. It's not a fad. Leaky gut is turning into probably one of the main reasons why we have most other diseases. You'll learn this here in a second. Your gut health, your immune system is in your gut. A lot of your mood and whatnot is in your gut. Once you this is an introduction, so I think I'm going to do a second video on a little bit further details, but if you start to think about what we're talking about here and the implications of this, they're profound. And the thing is that the 5 tips that I'm going to give you are going to be good for your health regardless. Okay, so here we go. In a nutshell, leaky gut is defined as impaired intestinal barrier permeability, meaning they also call it intestinal hyperpermeability. So what that actually means is that you need to think about your body as it needs to be a closed system, but your mouth to your anus, that whole tract is not a closed system. Okay? You eat food, you breathe air. That's why you have mucosal lining in your nose, because you go and you swim and you get toxins in your nose, aka chlorine when you're swimming, because if you're like me, you're still drinking the water and sniffing the water for some weird reason. I don't know how many laps I've done and I still get water in my nose. That's toxins, and the lining in your nose have a mucosal lining in order to hopefully to keep that chlorine out. Anyway, so the whole digestive system from your mouth to your anus is lined with mucus, this barrier to help you not be inundated with a whole bunch of stuff from your environment. Okay, your skin does a barrier. So your gut, your intestinal tract is designed in a super cool way with kind of what you can think about building blocks. And so if you think about brick and mortar and you think about the blocks, and then you think about the mortar in between. So leaky gut is where the bricks have gotten loose and the mortar is gone and things pass through that aren't supposed to. The gut lining is smart. The gut is smart. Things are supposed to come in and go out. And when you have some degree of leaky gut, coming in, you get a lot of toxins coming in because of those areas where stuff is leaking through, and then your absorption of stuff, this going in and out, doesn't work, and then it kind of gets compounded on itself because that results in inflammation, and then the inflammation kind of causes its own problems, and it sort of becomes this cascade effect of no bueno. So remember that the gut lining is meant to protect you from all the bad stuff in your environment, and it is designed to do this in 3 different ways, 3 different layers, and that would be the physical, the mucosal, and the epithelial. Okay, epithelial meaning cells, mucosal meaning snot. Okay, snot. Interestingly enough, the epithelial cells, that epithelial lining, is where your immune system and your neurological functions happen. So if silly things are going on there, then we get kind of like mood issues and da 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 da. So if you want more information, go to the website leaky gut, and it'll start this conversation. You'll be able to read some of this stuff. I'm not going to read all of it that's in there, and it's got some smarty stuff, but you get the nutshell that the gut is designed super cool, and our lifestyle and eating and whatnot are completely derailing it. Another nutshell about leaky gut, this dysfunction and the permeability of the gut lining goes like this. Goodness. So too much protein called zonulin is released. Zonulin comes from, I have all these cool notes. Zonulin regulates the opening and closing of these junctions. They called tight junctions, so the area between the cells and the lining. And so this protein called zonulin actually tells these cells to go back and forth like this. And we'll talk about when you get too much zonulin, where you get that from. Too much zonulin, and then the tight junctions loosen. Okay, so the tight junctions of the gut lining are loosened. Tight junctions are protein structures that seal up cells. Protein structures. Okay. This allows antigens to pass into the mucosal lining. Remember how we were talking about there's a physical layer, there is a mucosal layer, and then there is an epithelial layer. So these tight junctions open up. It gets a little bit further in. There's a picture on the website. Go look at it. And then you've got the super smarty, feel-good stuff underneath there. So an antigen is just anything that's not supposed to be there. And it could be something fine that had the junctions not been open and not like a huge offender, but once they get through, they cause inflammation and stuff like that. So an antigen is just basically something that's not supposed to be there in that particular spot at that time, etc. Once this happens, the liver has to work harder. The liver's kind of like your, remember the aquarium filter, so it has noticed that something is going on. Your aquarium filter is getting a little junked up, and then the immune system kicks into overdrive as a response to this antigen and makes antibodies. Okay, this is where we get food allergies. Okay, so an example would be nuts, maybe. I don't know if that's a good example, but anyway, you have a little bit of leaky gut going on, and this nut antigen continues to get in, and then the body decides to make antibodies for that antigen, and then the body goes, oh, okay, so whenever you eat the nut, then your body just automatically puts out more antibodies, and so you get this immune response to something that's fairly benign, and it has nothing to do with the nut. It has all to do with the fact that your gut lining was leaky. It got in somewhere where it wasn't supposed to, and the system went haywire. Okay. When the gut is leaky, the immune system has less energy for other disturbances due to the gut's constant needs. What did that just mean? That meant that when you have leaky gut and then you go get on an airplane and you're exposed to a different area's bugs, your system is more vulnerable because it's busy trying to fix its own leaky gut. This can lead to infections and illness. It can also lead to mood disturbances, anxiety, depression, hormonal balance issues, along with just a plethora of other things, right? Because we're talking about this in and out, this very basic system. Just all sorts of things go on. Also, nutrient absorption. I mean, you've got to understand that when you put food in your mouth, it's just not like poof. Like you eat the broccoli, it's not an automatic, yes, you're going to get all the nutrients from the broccoli just by putting it in your mouth. Your body has got to digest it correctly, in the right timing, get it to where it needs, the right spot, and then absorb it through this lining and put it where it's supposed to go. So nutrient absorption is negatively impacted as a result of the microvilli in your intestines being damaged. Microvilli are fingers in the intestinal lining. So this surface area is smaller than this surface area, so that's what the villi do. They increase surface area, thus they increase absorption of nutrients, movement. So you can really have just a ton of issues with the inundation of things that aren't supposed to be in there, and then the lack of things that are supposed to be in there. So an example, an athlete, and she was listening and due diligence to what I was saying, still having cramping. I was take your magnesium, make sure it's the right kind. We tried different brands, and come to find out really that the magnesium that she was taking, she was not absorbing well because she had a degree of leaky gut. Isn't that fun? Okay, so we need to maybe reality check a little bit and understand that our gut health is so important and will determine how well your efforts do, like what you're eating. Okay. They say that leaky gut isn't easily diagnosed yet due to the commonality of symptoms. I'm going to talk about symptoms later, but we took Derek to the doctor about his hands. He has an itchy hand he's had ever since he was deployed years and years and years ago, twice. And it'll all make sense as this story unfolds. Okay, so we take him to the doctor. He's got this hand that every time they give him stuff, it helps for a week, and then it comes back and it's itchy and it's raw and it's red, and it ends up being a huge issue. Your hands and your skin are a barrier to stuff too. So if you're like a medical professional, you're not supposed to have cuts on your hands because you're, sticking your hand inside body cavities and you're dealing with snotty, yucky people all the time. So your hands need to not be all chewed up. A barrier to the outside world. Anyway, back to his hands. Eczema. Remember that, eczema. And here's a lotion, okay? Not easily diagnosed leaky gut is, and partly due we're not asking enough questions, we're not asking smart enough questions, and sometimes we're really stuck at the top level of addressing some of the symptoms and results of leaky gut, and not kind of delving down and trying to figure out how to get the hand to not reoccurringly itch like nobody's business. Anyway, so another example, which kind of is a fact, and it becomes a runaway train. Babies are born with guts that aren't fully developed, sort of already leaky. They're just itty bitty little things, and so that's why they are designed to drink the breast milk, and then why breast milk is designed the way it is, to help with this idea that they come out without a very good functioning microbiome in their gut, and they are now out of the super duper protective womb and now out into the open of this huge world of grossness, right? And so babies that are have this type of thing. Another story would be my youngest son had a huge problem with this and had colic and silent reflux GERD for a year. And probably mostly due to the amount of cow milk that I drank when I was pregnant resulted in, I probably had my own leaky gut. He got leaky gut, and then, maybe that breast milk was coming through, the cow milk was coming through the breast milk and giving him leaky gut, which will follow with immune system issues and yada, yada, yada. It was horrible. Anyway, he's all better now. So, leaky gut. Undigested particles, antigens, sneak through the gut lining into the bloodstream. The immune system creates antibodies for the antigens. The immune system produces an inflammatory response in the anticipation of more antigens. Dun, 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 dun. And away the train goes. Okay, so symptoms, leaky gut. And this is where it gets a little kind of why it's not really diagnosed well yet, though, and I'll say it again later, probably every single one of us have some degree of leaky gut just because we live in the Western world and X, Y, and Z. We'll talk more about that later. So food intolerances, okay? There's a difference between food intolerances and food allergies. Food intolerances, vitamin and mineral deficiencies, and then that results in just a ton of other things later. Like if you're deficient in magnesium, you probably will have restless legs, and you might have heart rhythm issues. Brain fog, bloating, diarrhea, and GI issues. All of this because the gut's just not working right. It becomes inflamed. It's not working right. And then the gut lining needs certain things to heal, and it's not able to get the things because it's inflamed and everything isn't being absorbed right. Thus the runaway train. Okay. Thyroid issues, rashes, eczema, and joint pain. Okay. I would venture to say that this is a conservative list, and then if you were to maybe connect the dots on some other things, how in the world wouldn't it be kind of a catalyst for a lot of other things? Okay? I mean, seriously, if you're not absorbing your nutrients right, mineral deficiencies, and your immune system is going haywire, that's stress on the body, and what else does it do? Okay? All right, here we go. So, specific possible causes of leaky gut. Diet. Let's talk about diet first of all. Okay. The lectins from grains. Lectins. I think I had a smart thing written about lectins. It's the process of digesting them. This is part of this anti-gluten, anti-grain movement. When you process grains, and we're not even talking about the huge adulteration of our food and how inflammatory it probably is to start with because of how we are processing and storing it, and then really not to mention that when we're talking about grains, we might be talking about bread, which is, again, adulterated greatly with sugar and other stuff. So lectin from grains, nightshades, Google it or look on the website on this link here. Okay. Legumes, dairy's a big one. Processed foods. Processed foods in this case, in this whole talk about because of additives, emulsifiers, which are food stabilizers. This is such a gotcha. We need to be smarter with what we're doing. So like almond milk has an emulsifier in it, so it stays nice and cool, like shooken together, and so you don't walk up to it and it's all the stuff on the bottom and you have to shake it up. So those emulsifiers that they put in health foods are a contributing factor to leaky gut. That's kind of a OMG. Imbalanced microbiome. This deserves its whole separate video, which we will put together. Okay, the microbiome is stupid important. But in this case, in specific, we're talking about candida overgrowth, fungus overgrowth, candida. The candida secreting toxin, so candida is like an organism, and it does stuff. It steals and robs your nutrients. People kind of like throw this term around, and they don't quite understand that it's kind of like having crabgrass in your yard. It takes over and it takes up nutrients and resources for the precious little fescue, that cool green stuff, to grow. So candida steals nutrients, but it also secretes toxins as it's doing its living, that causes epithelial cells to shrink. So, you have this imbalanced microbiome, you have a little bit of leaky gut, the candida gets into, through those two first layers, gets into the epithelial, causes them to shrink, and this is where your immune system and your neurological happiness happen. Okay, modern lifestyle, antibiotics, the mass onslaught of cleaning things, antibacterial soap, antibacterial this, antibacterial that, don't let our kids get dirty, etc., etc. But antibiotics in general, like If you have a UTI, the very first thing we do, because we're freaking out about that sort of pain and discomfort, is you automatically go and get a antibiotic, which wreaks havoc on your gut health, causes leaky gut, and then you get on the runaway train. NSAIDs, ibuprofen, stupid hard on the gut. Environmental toxins, such as antibacterials, all this stuff is everywhere. And then, guess what it is? This last one, that should be the first one, stress. Stress wreaks havoc on the gut lining, on gut health, causes leaky gut. Period. Check it out. So, back to the story about the person deployed with the eczema on his hand, one hand, interestingly enough, just one hand and one foot. So, the story, if you ask him enough questions, which the doctor did not, is that when these people when they're deployed, and then let's think about how many years ago was that, 10, 15 years ago? Oh my gosh, the things that they were doing and giving them just in sheer amounts. We're in an uproar about certain vaccines for our kids, and there might be like 5 of them, right? You guys have any idea how much your soldiers are getting when they're going deployed? Oh my God. So anyway, I would imagine that stemmed from just probably devastating his gut health, and then add in all the stuff that they did, and the lack of X, Y, and Z, and the stress. And this has stayed with this person for years and years and years, and it has caused X, Y, and Z. But we'll just focus on eczema on the hand. So the doctor didn't say, he said at the end it was eczema, but not exactly like why, okay? Just gave him a cream. And he's had this cream many times. I mean, this is a 10-year story for him. And so the cream doesn't help. It helps like superficially for a bit, just the surface. But if you have this systemic issue, eczema is an autoimmune issue. This is caused by leaky gut. And so if you don't take a step back and be like, okay, time out. And so I'm asking him, okay, so it's leaky gut, and what is the thing that causes leaky gut? What would you take out? And his thing is gluten and grains, sugar. Da-da-da. Okay, so here we go. Repairing leaky gut. There are 3 tests that you can take to give you a smarter idea or ask for. I can't say all of them, so go to the link and read them. One of them is IgE. It's testing for antibodies or something like that. Anyway, they are specific tests that you can kind of determine and get a smarter idea about. Okay, so the 4 R's in functional medicine regarding leaky gut and repairing. Number 1, remove. So remove offending things. Your gut is on fire. It's leaky. It's just going sideways. So you need to stop the onslaught of BS. Okay? So elimination diets, and most of those are going to revolve around no dairy, no nuts, no sugar, etc. Yes, Susan, I know. I keep thinking about you and your endeavors. The athlete with the magnesium absorption issues, and I think that she had said that she just felt off and was on a weight loss journey. Went and seen a functional doctor. These guys know how to ask you all the smart questions. So me as a nutrition coach and a health coach, I'm not here to diagnose you. I'm here to give you smart words so you can go find a functional doctor or educate yourself enough to make them ask questions. The doctor that I took Derek to would never have said that it's an autoimmune issue. He would have linked it to leaky gut. And I really don't think he actually said leaky gut. I said it. He did say autoimmune when I asked him like 1,000,000,001 questions, and he wasn't happy about it at all. But this is how you're going to fix this issue. And the eczema hand is not the biggest problem in the book. This is just a symptom. There's probably like 10 other major things that are going on that, if left unchecked, are going to cause big things later on. So you have this, like this, chance to fix it if you ask the right questions. So thus this 30-minute video, and I have 6 minutes left. So on time today and doing well. Elimination diets, taking out all the crap and all things that kind of just ding the gut lining. Supplementing with herbal antimicrobials. Google that stuff if you want. I'll add more words in the link. Rotation diets, just for FYI, rotation diets are limit specific food exposure for 24-hour cycles, then avoid the next 3 to 4 days. Okay, anyway, so that's number 1, remove. Give the gut the chance to heal, slow the heck down, etc. Number 2, replace. So in the holistic world, we're talking about digestive bitters, HCl supplements, and L-glutamine. So you need to Google or ask a functional med doc or whatever about the first 2, or research, or message me specifically. I don't want to get further into that, except for L-glutamine. Athletes need to be taking this anyway. It is really good for recovery, especially if you're in the endurance game. But L-glutamine is by far the easiest thing to help with your gut lining. It's cheap, it's safe, you need it anyway. So why not take it? Okay, there you go. Number 3 is to re-inoculate. Anybody ever see that Grey's Anatomy episode where some chick, she had some sort of issue? She was really kind of cranky, and she had a boyfriend there, and she had to do a poop transfer, whatever that word is called, fecal matter, whatever. So they borrow dude's poop and put it into her gut lining in order to re-inoculate her microbiome. He lives in the same house. It would generally be kind of the same. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about here, but that brings up to mind. Re-inoculate, that's what we're talking about, is to rebuild and get the gut flora, the microbiome, back to healthy, because once it's back to healthy, lots of things are way better. Probiotics, when appropriate, and also think about prebiotics that feed your probiotics. Okay, there's tons of stuff on that, or we have other resources on that. Number 4, repair the mucosal lining in the gut. So do 1, 2, and 3. And then here's some things that support the mucosal lining and gut health. Bone broth, collagen, L-glutamine. So I tell you guys to do all of that stuff. Sorry about the train. Bone broth is stupid good, stupid easy. It's really good for your health. Filtered water. We need to be drinking clean water. Adequate amounts of protein. Did you hear me earlier in this chat where the cells of these tight junctions, they're protein cells. Protein cells. They're not carb cells. They're protein cells. Protein structures. Eat your protein. Okay, honey. Replace honey's really good for you, and if you buy local honey, do that. Buy local honey so the local bees help your immune system be stronger locally. But honey replacing sugar or other silly sweetened stuff. Fermented and cultured foods, kefir and kombucha. I'm going to be doing a video on kombucha soon. It's kind of an easy, fun way to add into gut health. And then obviously healthy fats. Coconut oil, healthy fats are good. So, all of these things are not rocket science. The protein, the good amount of protein, fat, right amount of carbs, good carbs, etc. You're going to be healthier regardless. So just do that stuff anyway. Specific supplements on here. I'm going to add in a little bit of whys on each one, but I don't want to go over them right now. I would rather have you focus on the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 that I'm going to talk about here in a second. So number 1, zinc. Number 2, aloe vera. Super good for your gut. 3, marshmallow root. Number 4, slippery elm bark. Number 5 is curcumin. You need to be taking that anyway. I should have added that to the list. Number 6, vitamin A, and number 7, vitamin D. So that's kind of the things to help with leaky gut. Go look at the link to see why. It'll be in this, I'll put it with the video link and stuff. Okay, so, oh my gosh, it's 7:30. 5 things to do to help with gut health. And if you suspect that you have leaky gut, 5 things to do. Number 1, learn how to handle your stress better. Straight up. Handle stress better. Message me if you need to know how to do that. Okay? Handle your stress better. Meditate. Color. Exercise well. Not like cray-cray exercise, though we're Ironman training, so that doesn't count. But add L-glutamine, for real. Handle stress, L-glutamine. Number 3, take out dairy. You don't need dairy. You don't need dairy for calcium. You don't need dairy for protein. You're not a cow. It's not clean. Take out dairy. You don't need it at all. And take out grains too. So while athletes do need some grains, get clean grains. But in this time of you want to fix something and you want to kind of add into your gut health, take out grains. The paleo people have it right. Grains are inflammatory. Number 4, add D3, and go ahead and add magnesium while you're at it because that's stupid healthy for you, okay? And then number 5, eat less processed foods, including some of the packaged healthy foods like the almond milk, anything that has emulsifiers and whatnot in it. I will provide a PDF with this on a little bit more on emulsifiers. So, leaky gut. Just about everybody's got it, a bit of a version of it, and it causes all sorts of things. It's a runaway train. So if you have any questions, message me. Feel free to email me or whatnot. Ask in the group, and we'll provide more information regarding some of this stuff as well. Make sure to check out the link. It's got all this stuff in it. Have a great day.